As we told you in October, some corn growers using the Cry1F trait to help manage western bean cutworm were seeing disappointing results. A group of entomologists from several universities had written an open letter then detailing the struggles in controlling the insect using that protein. While in North Platte last week, we talked with Nebraska Extension's Julie Peterson about controlling the pest. As she said when we talked in October, Nebraska farmers had been seeing poor performance from Cry1F for several years. We started by asking about western bean cutworm moth numbers in her area this season.
So again, we had a pretty high flight of western bean cutworm, fairly similar to what we've seen the last couple of years. We definitely saw central part of the state, Kearney, Grand Island, had a very early flight and a very heavy flight as well. A little bit further west, around the North Platte, Brule, and Grant area, we are still having the very tail end of our western bean cutworm moth flight. Numbers are definitely starting to peter out though.
The emergence earlier and maybe heavier, is that alarming at all?
It definitely is in terms of we're seeing eggs being laid in cornfields maybe over a bit of a longer period of time, especially this year with there being some delayed plantings, some slower development with the weather we had right after planting. We have more of a spread in terms of the development of the corn plants themselves. So that has been a challenge this year to manage with having different crop stages happening at the time of when egg laying is also happening.
Just as an overview, I should ask what kind of damage they can do to a corn plant.
Well, they are going to be causing their yield loss by feeding on developing ears of the corn. So the eggs are laid on the upper surfaces of upper leaves. The larvae really prefer to feed on fresh tassel when they first hatch. And that has been something for this year. When eggs are laid on corn that's still a couple weeks away from tassel and that tassel tissue is not available, those young larvae really don't survive as well. So that's really their preference, is tassel tissue first, and then they start to move down into the silks and into the developing ears. That's really what we're seeing right now in the field, is that movement down into the silks and the developing ears right now.
Too late for any kind of treatment?
Once they get inside the ear, it is definitely too late. They're going to be protected inside of the husk and inside of the silk, and so insecticides aren't going to be able to reach them there.
We talked last October, after the season, I think, about the resistance that we've been seeing in western bean cutworm and the Cry1F protein specifically. Can you explain more on what we know about that?
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of studies the last couple years to try to get a better understanding of what the current susceptibility is to Cry1F proteins in particular. These are the proteins that are in the Herculex and SmartStax traits. We are seeing quite a bit of variation within our state, that not all populations are responding in the same way to Cry1F. So in some situations, Cry1F is really not providing much protection anymore, but in other parts of the state, we do see that Cry1F can help to suppress western bean cutworm.
What does that mean? The resistance just hasn't reached that area yet?
I think it means that we are seeing different selection pressures across the state, and we're also seeing mixing of the genetics of the moths. You know, they do emerge, and they can fly for pretty long distances before they will mate and lay eggs. So we are still seeing mixing together of these populations.
Would you recommend anything differently for growers next season?
I would really think about your BT trait selection and really being aware of what you're planting and whether it's going to provide you with any protection against western bean cutworm. So not all of the BT traits that provide protection against things like European corn borer, not all of them also work for western bean cutworm. So you can refer to the handy BT trait table as a really good resource, and you can always contact myself or one of our other extension entomologists just so that you have a better awareness of maybe what you're planting and how it might protect you against western bean cutworm and other crop pests.